welcome to Board Games with Niramas. I'm Joseph and I'm here today to talk about Star Alliance, the top 10 Star Alliance cards in Keyforge. And I really like Star Alliance. This was the positive surprise or like house for me in the Worlds Collide expansion. I really enjoy them. They have a lot of things that I like in this game, like card draw and archiving. That was sort of not archiving, but like card rotation really. And also really nice effects going on. So this was really hard to do, to pick out my top 10 cards. Number one wasn't hard because I have a real favorite card with these guys. But the other ones, wow, there's so many cards that I would like to include here. I think they have like 61 cards, so it was really tough to pick out 10. But I did it, and now let's start going here with my number 10. Okay, so number 10, here we start off with a creature, 4-power Armsmaster Melina. Human hazardous 3, which is really important here, and each of its neighbors gets hazardous 3. So hazardous, if you don't know it, it's basically a deterrent, so that if this creature gets attacked before the fight happens, the opponent takes 3 damage. So smaller creatures can't even attack this one, and the fact that it has hazardous 3 itself and then gives hazardous 3 to both the neighbors. I mean, you can set this up in such a crazy way. So you can have 2 of these next to each other and they both get 6, right? Or you can have one on each side of like a taunt creature, and that taunt creature will have hazardous 6, which means it's really hard to attack it. So yeah, pretty simple card really, but it's one of those that I really got, I really liked from the start, and I still do. So that's why it's my number 10. Okay, so my number 9 is somewhat, in some ways, a bit cheating here because it's all sort of 2 cards, and a lot of these, I'm gonna put it out here, a lot of these creatures in Star Alliance have, well, a bunch of them have like their own blaster, like their own upgrade, and you can put it on anyone and then you get an effect, but if you attach it to the person or like the blaster belongs to, you get another effect. And Kirby's blaster here I did want to show because it's so good, the upgrade. Kirby himself is the actual pick here for number 9. And what he does is 3 power, play Fight Reap. You may play a non-Star Alliance artifact upgrade or action card this turn. This is so good when you play him or when you use him in any way, really, Fight Reap. Then you can play something else. And that helps out with the card rotation as well as, helping out with maybe playing Imperium and warding him or whatever. There's so many good action cards in other houses that you can play on the Star Alliance turn, which I think is so cool. But then if you have him out there and you put out this upgrade on him, then first of all, when you Fight Reap with him, you deal 2 damage to a creature or attach the blaster to him. And when you attach the blaster to him, you draw 2 cards. So card draw, I love that. So I have a few decks actually where I have 2 of these guys, and if I can have both of them out at the same time and they get to survive, then I can bounce the blaster back and forth and draw more cards, which is just so good. So I think out of the blasters, I think this is my favorite one. There's a lot of good blasters upgrades, but yeah, Com Officer Kirby, really like him a lot, so that's why it's my number 9. Then my number 8 is a so-called key cheat, Forging an Alliance action card that gives you free ammo when you play it, and then when you play it, you forge a key at +7 current cost, but it's reduced by 1 amber to a maximum of 6 for each house represented among cards in play. And as long as you don't have the same house, as long as you don't share a house in your deck with your opponent, then there's a good chance that it's going to be 6 different houses represented among cards in play, right? At certain points in the game. And then you get to forge a key in the middle of your turn for basically just +1, which is often 7, which you can often pull off. So really like this key cheat. I think it's one of the better ones. Now when I started playing Keyforge, I didn't like like key abduction and key charge and all that. I thought it was weird. I thought it really felt like cheating to make a key outside of the key forging phase. I didn't really like that aspect of the game, but since then I really enjoy it. Really like those cards. So I think this is a really cool key cheat. I mean, all houses, well, not all houses, maybe all houses have one. I'm confused. I'm confused because they added, like, this has one at least. that they didn't have, I don't know, most of the houses at least. Tell me in the comment section, I'm confused here. I think most of the houses have a way to key cheat by now. So yeah, really like this one, really cool one. Let's head to number 7. So number 7 is a transporter platform, a artifact, gets you free amber when you play it, and the action on it is return a friendly creature and each upgraded attached to it to your hand. And this is so good. I mean, it's not always good. You need to have a good Star Alliance deck around it, sort of, but it's so good because there's a lot of upgrades in Star Alliance, and most of them, I think, most of them give amber when you play them. So, and for example, as I talked about earlier with Kirby, if you have Kirby and Kirby's Blaster, you know, you can sort of pick him up on your hand and then put him out there again and put out the Kirby's Blaster, gets you an amber, and again you get to draw 2 cards. So this could be so good in a lot of situations where you can really combo off all that with the upgrades. And you know, a lot of the creatures as well have play effects, so you can pull back a creature with a good play effect so you can play it again. It doesn't even have to be, you know, Star Alliance. There's some situations where I would like to pull back another house card, a creature that is out there that has a good play effect, and then I pull it back, and then on the next turn I can play that house and put it out again. So really enjoyed Transporter Platform. I really like this artifact. Now, my number 6 is a very simple card called Stealth Mode, action card, free ammo when you play it, and your opponent cannot play action cards during the next turn. I mean, there's, you know, the same card basically in logos and so on, but yeah, this one, it's so useful. There's so many times when you sort of play and you sort of know, or you feel, or you can calculate on that your opponent are sitting with a too much to protect or something in hand. Or another good action card, right? So then when you get this one out at the right time, stopping those action cards from being played, it's so good. So such a good card. The effect is amazing. So really like Stealth Mode, and it's common, so you often get this one with your Star Alliance. And at number 5 we have another upgrade, which is Quadracorder. So this one says your opponent keys cost +1 for each house represented among friendly creatures to a maximum of 3. So this is a way to stall, to increase the key cost for your opponent. And what's really weird about this one, or it's kind of cool in the same way I think, is that you can attach this to a enemy creature and it still applies. Like, I mean, it's your card still, so it applies to the added key cost applies to your opponent. I thought this was a bug at first when I saw this happen on the Crucible Online, but it seems, you know, to be that way it's supposed to be. So Quadracorder, really good one. I mean, there's a bunch of these, like Mars has it and so on, increasing key cost. There's you know, upgrades to do that, but I really like this one in Star Alliance. And at number 4 we have a creature that I really like to see multiples of in my deck. I'm happy for that. 3 power Medic Ingram. Play Fight Reap. You may heal 3 damage from a creature and ward it. So she can ward herself or she can ward someone else. She can also heal you. I mean, mostly it's that ward that is so good. If you get to have this one out there and play a few rounds and you just keep, you know, reaping, putting out wards, it's so good. It's such a, I really like wards in Worlds Collide. I think the other new thing they added was Enrage, which means you have to fight with that creature. I'm not a big fan of that effect. It's very rare that it actually does any good, to be honest. But Medic Ingram and the whole warding thing I really enjoy. And at number 3, my favorite creature, actually, spoiler alert, but the other 2 cards are not creatures. So my favorite creature in Star Alliance is Hellsman Spears. Only 2 power though, no elusive, so it is a bit tricky. You have to protect this one in some ways, with a ward maybe from Medic Ingram. But Fight Reap, discard any number of cards from your hand, draw a card for each card discarded this way. So again, cycling through your deck and all that, drawing cards is one of my favorite things in this game. And with Hellsman Spears, you can set up some really good stuff. I mean, especially when you play on the Crucible Online. When you play online, you can, you know, click your deck and you can see what cards you have left in your deck, which is basically open information even in a live match. But the problem is then you have to remember, right? You can look at your discard pile, and if you know your deck list, then you can figure it out. But it's just a lot faster online, which is nice, or digitally. So you can see that maybe you have a bunch of Star Alliance cards still in your deck, and then you can use the Hellsman Spears if you can keep it alive somehow, and then you can get rid of those cards in your hand from other houses and draw a new card right away, which can get you cards that you can play right away if they are from Star Alliance. So Hellsman Spears is a really good creature. Again, I mean, you could argue that it should not be this high up on the list because it's so easy to get rid of. 2 power is a terrible number because there's so many action cards, direct damage, and a lot of stuff that can kill it. So, but if you can keep it alive somehow, which I do manage to do sometimes, then I really like Hellsman Spears. And then at number 2, we have my favorite removal card in the game. Sort of. It's sort of a board wipe in some situations, it depends, but Katrina Flux. It's an action card, says choose a friendly creature and an enemy creature, destroy the chosen creature and each creature with the same power as either of those chosen creatures. So to make it simple, I play this, I pick one of my guys that have maybe 2 power, and then I pick one of your guys that maybe have 4 power, and then all 2 and 4 powers creatures will be wiped. And there's so many situations where you can do this in a good way, because especially like with Medic Ingram. So you can ward someone first. Let's say you only have 1 2-power creature, then you can ward that, and then you hit the 2, and then you hit something else on your opponent's side. And it's so good because it's like targeted removal. So you can, if you meet a Gargantodon, 16 power or whatever, it dies because it's just removed. So you can get rid of some really nasty creatures. You can get rid of creatures that are elusive. You can get rid of creatures that are hiding behind a taunt guy. Wow, it's so good, and it's not a complete board wipe, which is I like as well, because a lot of time when you wipe the board with like Gateway to this, you do it because you need to at that stage, but maybe you would have wanted to keep some of those creatures that you had. So yeah, Katrina Flux is so flexible, and you can even do something else funny with this. If your opponent has a lot of wards and they have like maybe 4 creatures with power 3 and they're all warded, then you can select 3 2 times and it's gonna hit them. First get rid of the ward and then get rid of the creature. So Katrina Flux, I think it's my favorite card, creature removal in the game right now. Really good card. And now let's head to my number 1. And well, my number 1 is Book of IEQ, an artifact, and this is a rare one, so I think, maybe you haven't seen this, maybe you don't have it in one of your decks. I have it in 2 of my decks, which I'm happy for, and both of those decks, it works really nicely. So the action here is to reveal the top card of your deck, and if it's not the Star Alliance card, then that house that card belongs to becomes your active house. Otherwise, you end your turn. So this is a bit of gamble, but again, back to I play mostly these days online, right? And then I can just click my deck and I can see that maybe I have 10 cards left, and 2 of those are Star Alliance, which means this is pretty safe to use because it's an 8 of 10. It's 80% chance that I don't pull up a Star Alliance card on the top of my deck, because if I do, my turn ends instantly. I don't get to do anything else. I don't get to draw back up to my hand sites. So there are situations where you got to be careful with this, and this takes a bit of you. It took me a few games to get into this card because it's a bit tricky. But the whole notion of me being able to play 2 houses in one turn is so good. And I have a deck where I combine it with Hellsman Spears. So if I have Hellsman Spears out, I can cycle through my cards and keep track of what I have left and all that. There's also some other cards that I haven't put on the top 10, but they are really good, like Lay of the Land, I think it's called, where you get to look at the top 3 cards of your deck and then draw one. So that way you can choose which card will be on the top of the deck, so that when you play this, you get exactly what you want, right? So there are ways to manipulate that as well, and it's so powerful. I had turns where I played, I might been able to use 5 or 6 Star Alliance creatures, maybe play some cards from hand with Star Alliance, but I also have maybe 4 Shadows cards in my hand, and then I do Book of IQ and I get Shadows, and then I can use my Shadows creatures out there. I can play those 4 cards and I empty out my hand and I get to draw back up. It's so much fun. Now you can get really unlucky as well, and some situations where it just ends your turn. So it's a bit of a gamble, but I really like this card. This was one of the cards when I first saw it and when I first played with it. I was just amazed, like, wow. This is the first time. There's no other card in the game that lets you do this. There's cards like, Fate Shift, or you can play one other card from another house. But this one, you can just change your house and just, you know, use artifacts and creatures and play. Just, it's so good. So good. So I hope you will find a Book of IAQ in one of your decks or in future decks, because it's a really good one. It's really fun to play with, at least. And again, this list is not about, you know, mathematically what's the best cards, because that doesn't interest me at all. But it's what cards I like. Do you agree with me or do you not? Tell me in the comment section. If you're new to the channel, subscribe down there as well and like the video if you liked it. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great evening or morning whenever you're watching. Take care. Bye bye.
Be like Draco. Follow Board Games with Niramas on Facebook at BGW Niramas.